Alright, Chapter 13, Concrete Bridge Maintenance, Repair, and Upgrade. Section 1, Preventive Maintenance. General, the preventive concrete deterioration must even the more economical repair to deteriorate with the concrete and preventive maintenance. Preventive concrete deterioration with the design of the structure, the selection of the proper materials, make sure proportion concrete, the place of the curing procedure. Even while the design concrete will generally require follow-up maintenance if the action of the primary tip of the maintenance with the concrete area, surface of the protection with the joint, the restoration, cathodic protection, reinforcement bars, surface of maintenance involved. The application of the coating with the protective purpose of this joint problems are usually treated with one variety of the type of the joint seal with the cathodic protection involved. The anodes connect with the reinforcing bars, which will deteriorate in place of the reinforcing bars. Alright, the surface coating. Generally, surface coatings are usually applied with the concrete with the protection with the given chemical act with the alkali with the salt solution with the other chemical with the actual and the coating with the must be first established and then cover the extent of the deterioration rate of the attack. Environmental factors must be considered with the select with the variety of the coating for the job of the very coating with the sealant or the variable with the waterproof the protection concrete surface along with the among the product with the shovel type of the oil rubber resins, petroleum products, silicones, and the organic materials. Some of these products successfully in protecting the concrete with the contamination with the de-icing salt with the other harmful environmental agents generally have to be unsuccessful stop the progression already of contaminated surfaces. Surface water repellent. So the type of the coating with the prevent the mixing with the skin with the use of the ice with the local cost treating to provide the degree of the protection for non-entrained concrete with the adding insurance with the added air train and trained concrete placed in the wall with the subject of de-icing salt during fierce winter. Alright, the line seed, a mixture with the 50% layers linseed oil with 50% mineral spirit with the normal use the mixture with the two applications on a dried clean concrete surface. The surface of the coating should be less than 5 mils for the test strip. It should be used to help determine the application for the rate with the normal application for the rate of 40 square yards per gallon. The first application 65 yards per gallon. The second application for the treatment should be leave for 1 to 3 years. Silicone has been used to integrate to minimize the water penetration. The care must be taken to the moisture for the except for the backside of the wall. The care with the dissolved of the front of the base for the wood trapped in by silicone. Silicone oxide rapidly and somewhat water-soluble soluble treatments you require with every 4 and 5 years. Plastic elastomeric coating for the coating with either the strong fumes film coating over the coating concrete surface of the effect with the protecting the concrete with the coating must have a certain basic property of the heat, the bond strength of the coating and the concrete must be equal to at least tensile strength of the surface of the concrete with the abrasion of the resistance and most of the prevent the coating from the being removed. The chemical reactions must not cause the swelling of the dissolve of the crackling and brittlement of the material of the coating. They should prevent penetration of the chemicals will destroy the adhesion between the coating and the concrete. For the proper adhesion, the concrete must be free of the loose dirt particle of the oil chemical to prevent adhesion. The offers water vapor diffusing out of the concrete. The epoxies are used within solid content with 17 to 100 of the clear sealant with the cool of the tar mixed with the motor with the most of the thin coat sealant, the protective overlay with the coat that is required to expose the traffic way of the bridge forces. Asphalt is used as protected with the overlay with the bridge jack with the surface to provide the water protection and protect the wear surfacing. 3 joint maintenance. Little maintenance required with the buried and sealants with the cover that are not exposed to the weathering. Most of the field molded sealants require some type of the periodic maintenance that is effective to maintain the minimum touch up the field mold sealants can be made with the same sealant, whereas a failure with extensively necessary to remove the replace the sealant can be removed the hand tool with a large project with the routing with the plowing. The usually suitable tool sawing can be used enlarged in the joint with the improve the sharp the compaction with the new sealant with the after the joint has been cleaned that can be resealed. For more than information on the joint figure 12. Cathodic protection. The only remedy protected for the receiver the replacement of the provide effective stopping with erosion process of the contaminated concrete. The cathodic protection compared with the color for replacement normally use the extension with the two types of the cathodic protection systems can be used to prevent corrosion reinforcement systems and prep the current system of the galvanic system press current system the system even the low voltage high the direct current from the internal port of source to make a reinforcement bar into a cathode. The system the most effective when installed during the constructed deck for the pier with the stringers and buttons during the installation. The internally reinforcement bars with the contact one with another will allow the current to flow through the reinforcement steel. The system can be used to protect with the exposed reinforcement bar, however, usefully not an economical option with a special give the common power source of the system with a rectifier which provides the DC power with the AC sources. Galvanic system produces new external powers, but I know it's a special alloy to generate the current required to suppress the corrosion process. The common alloys the size of the zinc and magnesium, aluminum. The procedure for the use to protect the exposed reinforcement bar with the concrete pile with the figure 13.1 clean the area of the exposed reinforcing bar on which the attached zinc anode. Figure 13.1 part A with the attached 1 7-pound anode to every 6 foot of the reinforcement bars exposed to brackish and salt water. Figure 13.1 part B. Note the additional site of the testing must be required to adjusting the weight of the anode and ensure the 2-year life of the anodes. For the blackish water fast moving the water will affect the life of the expectancy. Alright, 13.1 show the cathodic protection reinforced concrete pillars, zinc anode, rebar attachment, the exposed rebar with the coated clamp, and the pop of the drive screw with the case hardened point. And on the left, you see the anode attachment. The wafer varies the exposed bar anode with low water line. Alright, section 2, repair and strength. They were general, but the repair and strength of the method is discussed in the following paragraph. The only conventional reinforced concrete specifically done and applied with the pre-stressed concrete. The first paragraph 317, the discussion pre-stressed concrete. Remember, the concrete repair is imperative to cover the symptoms of the problem to deal with the type of the concrete damage to cover the main means determined in the discovered in chapter 5 and 8. The repair of the deteriorated concrete second category for the repair with the tube for the cracking and suited for the spalling with the disintegration of the repair with the deteriorated concrete required with 1 deterioration. Fear of the structural design, peer form with the bridge with the deterioration, express with the reinforcement, steel with corrosive action. 3. The lack of the repair with the make of the bridge unsafe with traffic on normal operation conditions. Expect example of holes except the spalling with the deck with the damage and parapets. 1316, 316. Crack repair with the large variety of the crack type of the prevent the single the repair method that avoid active cracking may record with the strength of the concrete, the crack with the crack to prevent further crack expansion and applicate the flexible seal that will expand with the crack with the dormant crack with the basically require the binding and crack with the crack except for the loading of the carrying portion of the concrete sealing in all areas. The conversion, conventional reinforcement method with the primarily with the bridge with the isolated crack with the load bearing portion of the structural activity, dormant crack with the repair bond with the crack with the surface together with one monolithic form figure 13 tube, receive the file with the clean seal, existing crack with the elastic sealant with applied with the thickness of the 116 to the 332 with an inch steel, and at least 1 3/4 of an inch either side of the crack, the drive with the drill with a 3/4 inch hole with a 90 degree with the crack plane. Fill with the hole with the crack plane with the epoxy pumped under the low pressure with the 15 80 psi plate with the reinforcement bar number 4 or 5 into the drill hole with at least 18 inches development length with one each side of the crack. Pre-stressing steel with the technique with the pre-stressing strength with the rod with the compressed with the crack with the close to refer to figure paragraph 1312C. Drilling and plug with the repair that becomes if the drill hole the length of the crack of the browning with the hole to form the key of the resist of the transverse movement of the section. The technique is effective with the isolated crack with the run straight with the line. The accessible with 1 inch with the gear 13, 3 with the compass to proceed the file with the drill with the hole and 2 and the 3 inch diameter. Strength with the file with the crack with the full depth with the cleaning out with the drill hole with the specified remaining procedure for the given in 4. Dormant crack with the fill. The drill hole with the crack with the cement grab with the water type is required for the over the bond transfer fill the hole with the asphalt like material with both water type with the itis the key and action the required with the drill 2 hole with the lung with the crack with the fill 1 with the grab with the other with the asphalt active cracks fill the hole with the pre-cracked concrete motor plug with the bit and a bitumen use the brake bond with the between the plug with the hole with the prevent the cracking with the plug slows by subsequent movement of the crack of the dry packing the process the certificate with the ramming, the tapping with the low water with the control content with the mortar and the confined space with the technique of the effect with the patching hole with the high depth of the air with the ratio of the dormant crack with the accomplished proceed with the file with the undercover the air with the repair with the depth of the base with the width with slightly greater than the source of the form of the dormant should be cut along with the surface with the crack of the 1 inch wide with 1 inch deep with the slate with the undercover the soft tube with the squilly tool with the U with the purpose with the clean the dry slab the ply with the clean cement slurry bond coat with the equal parts with the cement with the fine sand with the face with the slab with the plate with the dry mortar pack slab 3/8 of an inch layer with the compact each layer with the hardwood stick with the working with the middle out with the T-shaped rammer for the large air with the mortar becomes the spongy during the composition compaction profit allow the surface with the dry pack to shift and then continue with the compaction fill the select complete with the strikes and flush. Figure 12-2 show the reinforcement bars inserted with the 90 degree with the crack plane to show the beam elevation detail A with the does not shear with strength with the procedure diagonal reinforcement and then the diagonal reinforcement existing stirrups. Figure 13-3 show the cracking, drilling, and plunging, and show the and then 13-4 show the epoxy injection using seal with the cracks, control hole, the nipple injection epoxy. The concrete surface of the board or hardboard compaction and stick with the epoxy inject the crack narrow within 2,000 of an inch can be bound with the injection epoxy along with the crack of the technique has also used the repair delimitation of the bridge depth. The compost the proceed with the final with the clean with the crack of the oil, grease and dirt substance with the return of the binding of the profit the surface of the cracks by brushing and epoxy along the surface with the crack allowing it to harden the high pressure for the injection and required the V-shape of the groove along with the crack of the core half inch of the deep of the or 3/4 inch wide fill the groove with epoxy and show the epoxy injection ports. There are 3 positions in the current insulation injection ports. The drill hole the method of the conjunction with the V groove that involves the drilling with a 3-inch core diameter hole with the depth of the 1/2 inch below the epoxy apex of the groove with the injection of the small diameter pipe with the small plastic tubing with the valve stem and etc. with the bit binding in its hole. Alright, bonded flush fittings. When the cracks are V groove with the injection port with the bond flush with the concrete face with the top of the port would be seated directly into the crack with the face of the port would be flush with the concrete face. Eruption the shield of the portion of the shield of the mid of the crack with the first method of the epoxy injection must have a gaseous system with the cover the unsealed portion of the cracks allowed the epoxy injection without leaking. After installation injection port with the mixture of the epoxy and form of the current of the American Society testing material of the specific with the type 1 low velocity of the great pot. See with the inject the epoxy into the crack of the evening, a hydraulic pump with the paint with the pressure ports with the air accumulated. The calc can go into the vertical crack that should be injected with the start of the port with the lowest evaluation working port of the horizontal cracks can be received at either end of the crack with the running of the far end of the crack to remove the epoxy grinding of some of the other means of the paint over the injection port with the epoxy patching compound. Flexible sealing of the repair method involves the rotating, rooting and cleaning with the crack filling with the flat field molded flexible sealing. Use the active crack with the crack with the indication of the joint requirements within the concrete formation. The joint does not impair the capacity of the structure to install. Proceed as follows the figure of 13.5. Route the active crack with the dimension comply with the width of the shape of the factor required with the joint. Have the same with the movement with the cleaning the crack with the joint out of it in sandblasting and or water jetting the apply the bond. Breaker to the bottom of the stop of the slat with the allow and then seal the chain with the slope of the performing the strength of the concentration around the seal of the common bound breaks of the polyethanol strip of the pressure sensitive tape. Fill the slab with suitable filled mold flexible sealing corn for the American Concrete Institute specification. Narrow cracks can be sealed without routing and applying bond breaker over the crack overlapping the sealing across the bottom of the breaker to seal crack figure 13.5. Alright, routing and sealing. The method used was performing correctly did not affect the structure. The integrity of the bridge. Remember that seal to prevent the wire from reaching the reinforcement procedure is followed with the figure 316 route. Show the figure 315. Show the flexible seal within concrete crack repair crack clove with the non-bounded breaker with bound breaker the back of the interior of the bound breaker the crack. Figure 3 A16 conventional proceed with the sealing the dormant crack. The initial crack the routage crack with a quarter-inch groove with the couple within the solid chipping tools. And a joint seal of the seal of the crack. Crack to provide with a minimum of the surface of the 1/4 inch clean the cut allow with the surface with the cut with the drive with apply American Concrete Institute with the 504R. Grounding hydraulic cement the dormant crack repair with the Portland cement containing with the slag with the post lines of the strength game. The grout can be sanded, unsanded, can be sanded or unsanded. Proceed to solve the cleaning of the concrete along with the crack and solve the build of the sheet with the grout with the nipples and nipples at intervals or strive with the crack to provide with the contact with pressure injection apparatus to seal with the crack with between the grout of the nipple some of the paint with the grout of the pump and grout into the crack with through the nipple to maintain the pressure supplement with the ensure with the good penetration with the grout. The grout should have the water cement with the ratio 1 part cement with the 1/5 of the parts water with water cement ratio that can be varied with to improve the penetration into the crack. Chemical grouts also be either consisting of the solution of the two or more chemicals that react with the form of the gel and solid precipitate with the opposite with the cement grouts and suggests of the suspension of solid particle of fluid. Guidance regarding the use of chemical grouts can be found in the EM 1110-23504 stitching. Stitching is the process of the drilling hole to both sides of the crack, the grouting with the stitching. The V-shape of steel bars with the short length of the bridge of the crack with the strip. Stitching is used to reestablish tensile strength along with the crack adjusting. Adjacent section with the cross section may require the strengthening to prevent the cracking from forming the adjacent section with the concrete. Initial installing stitching with the file of the drill, the hole at each end of the crack and blunt with the relief the stress of the concentrations. Clean and seal with the crack with the use of the flexible seal with the active cracks drill hole with the both sides of the crack. The hole should not be with the single plane with the spacing but should be reduced near the end of the crack. Clean hole with the anchor with the leg with the bog with the holes within the non-shrink grout with an epoxy. Stitching dogs should be varied with the length of the orientation to prevent the transmitting of the tensile force in single plane. The following consideration should be made with using stitching. Stitch both sides of the concrete section with the possible to prevent the bending of the triangle of the stitching dogs. Bending of the members may only require stitching on the tension side of the member. The member is axial tension, and this show of the reinforcing cracking using stitching. Never holes drilled within concrete receive the dog fill with the shrinking grout stitching dogs, and then the non-variable the length of the orientation so that the tension across the crack is distributed in the concrete rather than concentrated on a single plane. Alright, most have the stitching plate with the symmetrically stitching does not clove the crack with the prevent the propagation. Stitching may be played with the compression of the stiffness with the over strength of the carry with the force of the encasement of the stitching of the dog with the concrete overlay. Alright, spall repair. Spall is repair with the primary with the removal of the deteriorated concrete replaced with the new concrete with a similar character with the process to be involved with the following: the nail alive with the structure of the determine the effect of the room with the deteriorated concrete down with the concrete with the concrete will have only on the structure for the determine the need of the design ensuring with the bracing with the required with the support of the structure during the repair. The core may be removed down to the sound of the concrete depth of the patch with the leaf 3/4 of an inch in the sharpened edge of the at least 1 inch sheath to form of the round with the area of the patch with the round avoiding the further edge of the concrete path. Also the advantage to make the bottom of the remove the concrete area slightly wider than the surface of the keying effect of the new concrete patch. Large surface of the area to overlay with the concrete minimum of 1/4 inch should be removed from the surface of the edge of the overlay should be chipped about 45 degrees to prevent entrapping of the air under the overlay with the tools of the use to remove the concrete jackhammer the diamonds off the rotary head covered with the high pressure with the water jet the thermal lens of the hydraulic splitters clean the sound surface of the required with the repair operation, absolute minimum amount of the concrete to remove the all sound, unsound concrete, include with the delamination, air with the bath, air with the clean, with the remove of the debris, with the concrete, and removal of the process of the existing concrete, so with the reinforcing steel that have been blast clean with the repair clean. Again, inspect with the aggregated particles that have been cracked with the reinforcing and scarifying with the tipping of the beam, removed with the sound concrete. Patches should be reinforced with the wire mesh attached with the reinforcing bar with the dowels and screw the patch for the old concrete. Loosened reinforcement should be tied with the intersection to prevent the breed levels of the movement over the bar of the repair concrete due to the action with the traffic adjacent length during the cutting of the pier with the if the new replacing required with the adequate length to attain little lab space of 30 times the bar diameter of most extent with the existing section of the proper device if it's not possible how much but holes must be drilled into the existing concrete dowel or anchors installed. The interface must be established between the existing new concrete options of this include epoxy bonding with ensure the surface of the clean and dry freeze over the oil apply with the epoxy over the prepared surface grouting grout or slurry clean the prepared surface saturate the water remove all the freestanding water for the blast and press air apply with the coat of the grout after the surface penetration. The new concrete must be applied with the repair with the finish of the new concrete should be moist and curved for the next minimum of 7 days to prevent dry shrinkage. Allow the proper strength of the development, but it must easily accomplished by covering the patch in plastic warp. Alright, your shot creep with the can also be with the relief of the concrete swallow the areas of the short shot creep with the mixture with the Portland cement with the sand and the water shot and the plate with the compressed air with the base. Especially within the repair section with less than 6 inches deep, large and regular, with the shot creep with the required with the proper surface with the treatment of the surface required with the concrete overlay with no form of the work needed to confine the mix of shot creep useful with the repair with the vertical wall of the beams and the underside of the deck with the technique required with special training with the guys to be with the shot creep with this repair material given in the EM 1110-2005 12-8 13A joint repair. The main for the minimum repair joint with the covered in chapter 10 of the main with the deterioration around the joint with the concrete may require the repair of the concrete around the joint with the conjunction with the resetting with the joint with some of the special joint repairs are follows. Your joint sealant repair. The repair can be with the sealant that has failed with the pre-mold with the joint filter still in the good condition. The repair proceed with the file with the remove the existing sealant with the tool with the mechanical joint cleaning of the joint plow with the extruder with the joint wall with the pavement installed cleaning the joint with the mechanical brush. And remove the debris with the place sealant with according to the manufacturer installation. Proceed with the expansion joint seal with the seal with the seal with the open joint with the place with the preformed joint material with the reseal the joint with the elastomatic seal with the installation. Proceed with the resolve with the determinate required laser master side with accordance with the guidelines table 3.1. And then show your existing joint width of one width of the solid 1/2 and 5, and then it goes up to 3. The cleaning joint, the high pressure water jet is useful removing any of the debris existing joint material with the solid with the cut joint. A couple of the bridges provide the uniform dimension for the repair joint. Figure 13A, part A, blow out the joint with the compressed air with the remove of the standing water, dirt, and the gravel, the parts of the adjacent for lubricating with the inner joint. First, the position of the seal of the joint. Figure 13, part B, compress the bottom portion of the seal of the joint with the of the seal of the seal with the proper depth of the in alignment to make up the upward turn and seal of the proceed as saw cut as the deals of the joint saw cuts width of the joint determine the type of the seal to be used to remove the performed joint material of the seal insulation expansion joints and then show the expansion joint repair isometric removal small wedge and drill a hole through the seal or the cut to the hole and then downward turn up turn follows the figure 13E part C with the drill of the 1/2 inch diameter hole with the elastic remain with the hole of the should be J for the intervals 1/3 of the H for the hole of the height of the seal of the or 2/3 the height of the seal bottom of the seal of the cut with the lower section of the seal from the bottom of the seal of the hole with the 3 location behind the seal of the desired position. Install the following normal sealing procedure to make the downward turn for the seal of the proceed is followed. 13.8C drill a M-inch hole with along with the seal of the location of the bend with the seal of the 2/3 hole height of the seal from the bottom of the shield, cover the wedge of the underside of the shield by making the 2 intersections the angle of the cut of 45 degrees from the bottom of the shield with the 1/2 inch hole bottom of the shield down install with the newer sealing procedure. Your expansion joint with the asphalt overlay with the installation. Proceed with the figure. Follow with the figure with 13. Now install the cut along the lines parallel with 1 foot on either side of the joint with a 60-degree angle away from the joint with the remove of the asphalt inside of the cut of the air with clean with the concrete deck. Place a filler in the joint. Maintain the area between the joint of the asphalt, apply with the epoxy bond compound, clean the concrete surface, place the latex modified concrete with the cut air with the finish of the oil off the flesh with the existing asphalt, as the concrete surface of the joint with the required with the width and depth of the with all the debris filler with the joint, the ply with the adhesive the joint, pave the install of the seal, expansion, dam, repair, one armor joint with the repair method can be used with the spot repair long, extended expansion of damage, recover the full length of the armored finger with the sliding joint with the repair involved with removing small portion of the concrete welding seals, wrap of the damage of the deck, reinforcing and then replacing concrete with the part with the A with the file with the identify the loose portion of the expansion joint, require repairing Mark 12 by 8 inches rectangle. In immediately adjacent to the dam of the 18-inch center of the saw cut with the round perimeter of the rectangle of the 1-inch depth of the remove the counter concrete inside of the rectangle over the depth of the required the exposed of the deck reinforcement steel with the air hammer of the slot 1 inch wide within into the dam of the well with 1/4 inch by 1 inch by 12 inch steel with a Z-trap on the top of the deck reinforcing sandblast with the rectangular opening with the concrete with the blow off the debris with the ply with the epoxy bonding compound the epoxy concrete fill the rectangular complex latex modified Portland cement concrete. Alright, sliding joint. The repair can also be with the arm and the finger joint with the repair with the blade with 1 inch diameter, 2 foot center through the bridge deck with the plot with the bolt with the level, the expansion, the aim of the bolt, the zinc with the bottom of the deck with the steel blade with the wedge washer from the figure 13 10 part B with the repair with the perceive the south bolt burn hole through the top of the flame with the expansion dam with the 2 foot center with the cuff of the air with the be repaired bolt the hole at the top of the flame shovel 1/4 inch hole through the deck with a 45-degree angle the shawl of the cover the 6 by 6 inch area 1 inch depth with the drill hole under the side of the deck with the move of the concrete inside with the scored area with the reinforced steel with the plate with the 1 inch bolt through the hole with the flange and the deck with cut the head with the bolt flush top flange and weld the flange of the full penetration over the weld the bolt should extend through. This show with the placing a isometric seal with the asphalt overlay the saw joint recommended by the manufacturer for the seal joint the isometric compression seat the epoxy bonding compound applied as per specifications superstructure the latex molded Portland cement concrete surfacing and approach slab. Figure 13 shown the expansion dam repairs welded Z-strap repair welded strap deck slab removable concrete existing reinforced steel strap hold burn top plate expansion dam 1/4 inch hole drill through the concrete weld end bolt 1/4 inch in the 4x4 steel plate with 1/12 inch wedge washer and nut. The deck plate within 1/2 inch of the thick of the latex modified concrete drill around with the bottom of the hole with the position 1/4 inch by 4x4 steel plate with 1/4 inch foot hole with the wedge with the washer with a 45-degree with the nut tight with the ply with the epoxy bonding compound with the 6 by 6 inch in the area the fill with the latex modified with the concrete drill the tap flange with the bottom of the location shovel the zerk fitting bump the epoxy through the fitting of the filled voids with the expansion dam with the round the bolt with the move of the zerk fittings and weld the hole to cover the ground of top flange smooth. 13.9. Abutments and wing wall. The concentration on the abutment of the wing walls may deteriorate the effect of the water with the de-icing chemical, with the freezing crack, with the impact of debris, with the resulting breakup of the edge, portion of the face of the condition required with the repair of the made with the prevent continued deterioration particle with the increase the small with the diminution of the breach of the rebar car and corrosion following the step of the rehabilitation process normally required in 13.11 to 13.12 with establishing traffic control of the necessary valve excavate the required set with the valves and form of the remove of the deteriorated concrete chipping and blasting with the drill set, screw with the long step to support with the form of the work of the reinforcing the steel with the forms apply the epoxy agent with the concrete step, surface play for the concrete cure of the move the forms and install the erosion control materials necessary. 13.10 bridge seat. The problems often found with the control bridge seat include the deterioration of the concrete corrosion, the reinforcing bar, the friction of the beam, the hammering of the device still directly on the sheet with the improper design of the sheet with the result of the sheet with the failure during the preliminary stage. Then show 13.11 repairing the abutment of the wing wall forward faces over the using the jacket, the finish gauge of the replay for the detour of the portion of the abutment, the new cement concrete jacket, the deteriorated tackers, long tooth studs, and the dowel and the front formwork support with the number 6 gauge steel wire mesh and the existing steam bed foot in the top of the footing. The specific cause of the problem should be determined with the properly repair of the damage. Detailed plan with the jacking requirements should be made with the several repairs perceived as follows. The abutment and cap seat for the repair with the traffic control during with the jacking operation for the left of the jack of the unit to prevent the concentration of the traffic in one area with the possible damage of the superstructure with the restrict with the vehicle with the traffic during with the repair with the mispowerful saw cut around the concrete to move the void cutting and the reinforcing of the steel remove the deteriorated concrete to the horizontal vertical plane with ensuring the sound of the concrete is exposed and reinforcing of the required concrete instruction for arms with the complying with the new concrete with the applying with blading over the bridge for the repair of the surface of the interface for the new concrete, place the cure in place and cure the new concrete surface of the repair with the plate for the bearings is necessary. Concrete cap extension for the repair restore the adequate bearing with the beam with the deteriorated shear with the point with the bearing with the anchor of the extension with the existing cap with the procedures as followed with the figure 13.14 locate the drill 6 inches deep hole for the form of the groove of the extension of the cap. And then show 13.12 the repairing of the broken deteriorated wing walls. Place the tackers space for the block is needed. Line the exterior ply with a button the footer and not shown the double the way for the each side of the bulkhead. The tie script equal the CTLA to the smash for the brake line double the way for the seal plate with the exterior ply with the base of the concrete. Concrete anchors will with a 3/4 inch bolt with a 3/4 inch by 9 inch bolt with an inch and a 4 inch of the end of the concrete anchor with the reinforced bars. Still number 4 bars with the inside of the with the anchor bolt. The construct of the forming around with the reinforced steel grid with the minimum of 4 inch of the cover of the round with the side of the bolt, the minimum of 2 inches cover of the face with the extension of the bottom plate for the roofing of paper against the bottom of the beam of the plate for the class 4 concrete in the form of the remove of the forms of after 3 days. The extension should be not carried after loading, during the carrying, and repairing any damage of the end of the beam. The beam saddle repair for the restore of the bearing. For the beam, the cap of the deteriorate of the beam, the damage bearing, able to perceive the valve, to obtain the measurement of the cap of the beam, the width of the half of the engineer design saddle, to prepare the top of the cap of the beam, of the sound bearing contact with the saddle, the use the neoprime bearing caps, pads to contact the point between the saddle and the beam of the cap of the saddle beam, remember the contact with the cap of the cuff of the cap on each side of the beam, the drop one through the hole of each of the name of the two saddle with the cap of the contact member at the bottom of the saddle bearing with the members placed under the beam, the place the neoprime bearing pads under the beam, tighten the bolts in place with install the tighten and remaining bolts. Alright, 1311, the column and pile. The typical repair involved with the concrete columns is placed within concrete jack with around the member to protect with the further deterioration, restore the structural integrity of the member, the repair with the made with the standard wood, the metal with the work with the remove the after the curing the fiberglass with the remain with the plate with the help of the protect the surface of the member. Standard formwork, the repair method used in the pile with the damage deterioration on the point with the structural integrity of the member, the question with the perceive the ring cave with the concrete jacket, the reinforced with the plastic coating with the reinforcing steel with the check figure 12, 13, 16, the construction to perceive the shovel to remove all the deteriorated concrete sound base clean, the pile to ensure the proper pounding with the jacket with the same left the bars, rebar with the remove the corrosion with the bar, the repair or the rebar cage with the around with the pile with the reinforced with the pile with the inside with the face of the form with the released agent with the set of the form to the concrete jacket around under the rebar cage and pile with the debar with the forms and plate for class 3 concrete allow with minimum with 72 of the curing. Fiberglass form. These forms are used to prevent further deterioration, restore structural integrity of the plane, pile, and column with the repairs involved with encasement of the pile and column in the fiberglass form filling with the form of the epoxy and the grout with the cement grout with the class 3 concrete with the fiberglass form should be minimum of 1/8 of an inch thick with the non-corrosive standoff and compressible seal link strip at the bottom of the installation procedure will be depending upon the degree of the bolt location of the damage of the specified jacket by manufacturer recommendation. This is the base. Typical 13 typical concrete bridging teeth, the reinforcement bars, the spalling pans and saw cut. Procedure for the using fiberglass forms of the clean pile with the surface of the material with the prevent with the bonding with the remove the deteriorated concrete down with the sound with the concrete bait with the sandblast with the explode with the rebar with the new wire metal with the finish with the place jacket the form of the work around the pile. The form should have the real the stand off the concrete blocks attached to the inside of the face, the double nut with the bolt of the plate, the ends of the drill, the hole that provided the proper stand off of the seal with the form joint, bottom with the epoxy compound, the external bracing with the binding of the material with the help of the prevent the mounting of the movement of the bulging, the watering of the film between the pile with the form of the probative filter, curve, remove the external bracing with the handle and cleaning any of the filter material from the form face. Alright, 12, 13, 12 spanner, stringers, beams. And beams. Spalling of the beams make it be difficult. Some of the man that were over the walls construct with the form of the round the damage after the belief and the loss of the concrete. Shortcrete, excellent material that you with the type of the prepare. The more problem is with the concrete deterioration left the effect of the reinforcing bar to diameter to do the corrosion. This is all the truth with the cracks allowed with the water to penetrate the reinforcing steel due to the critical reinforcing bars into the beam. The important repair and replace with the damage of reinforcement bar with the material methods available to reestablish the reinforcing steel required for the proper beam performance. Conventional repair for the paragraph 13.7, the conventional reinforcement for the paragraph 13.6a. Pre-stressing steel of the method can be used with the clove of the crack of the providing external reinforcement to support the beam loading with the figure 13.17. The install the flow of the clean of the crack of the beginning with the explode of the repair rebar, the drill hole at the side of the beam, and making the existing rebar with the pre-stressing anchor with both ends of the beam. Install the anchor with the bolt of the side of the both ends of the beam with the running bolt through the prepared hole of the anchor. The anchor should be designed by the engineering generally consists of the reinforced angle with the section of the hole with the flanges, receive the material of both the tension, connect with the tension tie with each for the head with the anchor, each either side of the beam, apply the tension for the ties with the turnbuckle working enough the tension should be applied with the both sides of the beam and evenly with the increased tension with the cracking cove with the seal with the flexible seal with the method can also be used in conjunction with the patching and replacement interior steel. Alright, 13.13, deck, spall. The spall repair on the bridge decks can be broken into 3 categories based on the overall condition of the deck. Let's shown further into the paragraph of the categories identifying the core with the amount of the spall, example the total deterioration spall, the elimination of the corrosion potential over the negative 35 hundredths of the volt with the top of total percentage of the concrete sample that was contained less than 2 pounds of chloride per cubic yard of concrete, extent of the reactive the corrosion spall cover the 5% total deterioration cover the 40% of the total deck area, chloride higher over the 40% of the sample, the moderate active corrosion spall cover the below 0 to 5% of the total deck area, the deterioration covers the 50 to 40% of the total deck area. Chloride's high to 5 to 40% of the sample. The light, no active corrosion, no spall present. Or the show of the concrete cap extension, increase the bearing surface, the front view with the cap extensions, cross section of the cap extensions, and then your typical beam saddle design standard steel W sections. Figure 13.16 show the standard concrete pile jack with the steel and reinforced angle, reinforced cage. 13.17 external pre-stress strands used to close the crack, throw bolts, anchorage crack, and the tension tie. Deterioration cover the 0 to 5% total of the deck of the chloride tie high in the 0 to 5% sample. The main identify the character of the moderate category with an overlap of the other two categories. The best judgment made within engineering, academic, and other factors must be established. The appropriate repair for the bridge of the deck repair procedure that each of the categories outlined. Figure 13.2 with the figure within the deck for the preparative. The scope in 13.16 composite deck system. The processing pre-stressing techniques can be employed with the help of the clove of the crack from the deck repair. And then show the bridge deck restoration, light, moderate, and extensive. The removal will replace all of the deterioration chloride contaminated concrete. Removal of all the deteriorated concrete. Replace with concrete in accordance with the selected protective system. Replace with the entire deck protective system. Membrane with the BC overlay, latex modified concrete overlay, cathodic protection, epoxy coated rebars. Consist of the placing tying around the deck with the crack with the tied rod. Been played with the drill hole with the beam of the either side of the crack deck with the torquing of the turnbuckle time rods are tightened and then cover the crack of the deck. 13.14. Replace with the concrete member. The decks are at deteriorated portion of the deck that has removed the plate with the deck for the cast and plate for the precast section of the fixing into the position advantage. Even the precast section. No formwork is required. Smaller portion of the deck is removed and replaced thereby minimum of the traffic disruption. The procedure of the both sides of the deck replacement are outlined. Cast and plate the remove the deteriorated deck with the cover stroke with the formwork of the new deck with the formwork to the dead load of the deck with the install of the reinforced steel plate for the concrete allow the cured along with the achieve this design strength. Precast remove the deck here with the replay with the precast section with the precast section with the crane bearing carefully overlap the extending rebar placing adjacent panel with the brilliant wire together forming around the connection between the adjacent panels applying the epoxy agent interface between the side of the panel and the new concrete piles as well, which cannot be jacketed and be replaced with the same areas of the timber pile of chapter 12. Alright, so the slab crack and the tension tie, the tie rod tension with the torque knob by using turnbuckle. Alright, 13.15 general upgrade method. The substructure, the upgrade with the strength of the substructure with the increase of the adding pile with the column with the spear with the plate for the concrete jacket around the existing pile with the jacketing proceed with the strength with the column with basically the same with the preparing proceed with the discussed in section 2 of the chapter. The strength of the jacket must be extended with the full length of the lat column with the cap and connect with the cap of the footing of the lat jacket is connected with the existing cap footing grouting down into the drill hole, jacketing with the spiral and reinforcement figure 1319B with the method that you have improved the lateral strength with the circular columns involved the wrapping, tensioning, pre-stretching the wire with the existing column with the playing with with an inch for the diameter of reinforcing bars, the hole with the hoops and turnbuckle with each on the pre-stretching hoop that cover the shortcrete with the cast and the plate for the concrete the ply with the reinforcing steel. Your partial jacking figure 1319 part C with the technique involved with the stretching of the precast section with the existing columns with the bolts of the casting of the additional reinforced concrete. Existing column that does not completely encase of the column. Span reduction. The common method of shortening span that's discussed in chapter 10 also apply with the concrete bridges. The method include the intermediate pole, piers, airframes, and the brace. The post-tensioning technique shown in table 10.3 can be applied. Concrete bridges with the connection components of the system can be designed with a structural engineer. Adding string with the concrete with the string can be placed under the deck and connect with the deck with the dowel with the dead load with the reduce the benefit of the additional string of the move and uneconomical construct another alternative additional steel string between the existing concrete string with the button of the cap and the senior seats constructed with these steel members. Alright, 1316, strength of the individual members. The individual concrete can be strengthened by jacketing and reinforcing increased strength of the external reinforcement. Remember, there's generally strength with the counter increase with the shear of the flexible flex shear force. The shear reinforcement of the beams. External reinforcement figure 1320 with the shell. The external reinforcement of the beams running a channel section across the top of the beam with the tabs of the sectional section to each for the side of the upper portion of the beam through the bowl of the drill hole with the run section with the across the bottom of the beam with the blades of the tab of the rod, the plate barrel at the top of the bottom of the channel. Use torque nuts on either end of the rod. Pre-strap the rod to install the specified spacing to provide the increase of the shear capacity of the beam. Alright, 2. Reinforced bar insertion. Figure 13.2. The reinsert of the bar of the file with all of the seal all of the crack within silicone rubber. Move the girded center along with the deck with the located the transverse deck reinforcement drove the 45 degree avoiding the reinforcing bar. Pure with the epoxy and the hole of the cracks and the reinforcing bar with the epoxy holes. I showed the standard technique with the vent cap, the dome drove and grouted existing structure footing of the original column, the new longitudinal reinforcement concrete, new ties, and then showed the original concrete column, the shortcrete, the 2 method reinforcement 1.5 quarter extension of the pre-recessing wire spout, all the 2.5 inch of the or 4 number 4 hoops top of the footing, short key cast in the concrete reinforcement original column, and then it showed the partial jacketing hoop, existing column, partial encasement, and column. Alright, then 1320 showed the external shear reinforcement of the concrete beams, additional external stirrup, channel type play with the attachment vertical stirrups, human seal section of the side members. Shear reinforcement box beam with external reinforcement figure 1321 and is installed as well with the drill hole for the 10 through the job just outside of the web box beam with the countersink with a drill hole to install the stressing tendons. Inject the epoxy of any existing crack type with enough intending the pre-stress of the beam with a carefully following the design specification to avoid the overstressing of the beam. Inject the epoxy around the tendons. Dry the pack of the countersink hole with the flash with the concrete surface. Web reinforcement figure 1322 within shovel valve. Locate the drill hole to the inside of the face of the web of the box beam. Clean the hole with the depth of the debris with the set with the concrete anchor the plate with the anchor holes to the space for the steel plate with the attached for the weld. The rebar steel plate with either side of the bolt with the after attached horizontal reinforcing bar of the vertical repair. Flexure reinforcement being the two most common methods of the stringing concrete with the flexural adding steel cover the plate with the beaming tensile phase partial inflation of the beam and then reinforced steel. Alright, 1. Steel channel with a covered plate, figure 1323, then shovel the flow with the remove the dirt of the any of the raw material of the land, sand blast with the remove the any of the debris compressed air, locate the beam, stir with the longitudinal steel, mark the location of the drill hole with the reinforced steel with the steel being above the bottom of the road, longitudinal drill hole with the concrete beam, drill the cut hole with the steel channel with the match for the hole within the beam, position the channel in the plate, install the holes into place, inject the epoxy resin into the remaining hole, install the bolt, take out the position of the bolt, inject the epoxy, reinstall the seal from between the channel of the concrete beam. Partial jacking. The purpose of the jacking is to indicate the provide the cover the additional reinforcing bar with the position with the help and carry flexural loads in longitude. 1321 reinforcing box beam, then shear with the wearing surface with the supplemental pre-stressing tendon of the box beam. Supplemental pre-stressing stressing tendon box beam wearing surface. Alright, and the show that they figure 2322 reinforcing box beams, one pre-stressing bar access web thickening detail across filled with high strength epoxy beam across. Then view BB weld bolt reinforcement bars, bolt plus concrete inserted holes on reinforcement bars, two reinforcing bars, steel plate, and bolt attaching channels to the beam in the seam channel. Reinforcing bars are held with the vertical bar attached with the existing beam figure 1324BA and plate with the beam with the 1324B. Part B, run the existing deck with the 1325. Part C, the concrete can cover that can be cast and plate with short-created external plate. With this method involves the bolting, bonding the mild stable plate with the concrete member. The composite system will rely on the effectiveness and the bonds between the concrete of heat. The heat of steel structure surface of the technique should not be used on some member of the reinforcing corrosion of the high concentration chloride ions. Design consideration: avoid brittle cracking concrete over the hollow with the use of the steel plate within thickness ratio of 40 to reduce the horizontal shear with the limit of the nominal elastic horizontal shear stress. It is the adhesive tensile capacity of the concrete for the applied safety factor. Alright, this training with this method should be conducted with the trained personnel that use the following procedure: with the clean with the sandblast with the steel plate with applied with the epoxy primer plane, paint adhesive and sand. 1324 should the concrete beam and reinforced with the concrete sleeves. The blast of the concrete move the surface of the land is for the coarser grade of the hold the slab of the beam with the epoxy with the anchor bolt of the end with the steel plate with mixed heat with the steel plate with thickness between 1/16 and 1/8 with the inch thick. The adhesive should be thicker than the line with the center line plate with the prevent air from the pocket with the form of the plate with the concrete. With the plate, the steel plate underside of the beam of the slab of the bolt of the end of the hold into the plate with the supplemental bolting of the plate and of the reduce the peer failure. They're holding the plate and then can't plate for the case of failure. Any apply pressure along with the full length of the plate with the secondary support with wedges. Turn the end bolts in the plate to allow the adhesive to secure normally 24 hours from the secondary support. Paint the steel plate. Alright, 1317 pre-stressed concrete members. By design, pre-stressed concrete members have then differently with conventionally reinforced members. The result of many of the methods discussed in the preceding paragraph do not apply with the pre-stressed concrete members due to its complex repair. Pre-stressed concrete members are not covered in this mail. The following reports of the Transportation Research Board should be referred to the following evaluation repair with the pre-stressed concrete members. National Cooperative Highway Research Program report number 226 for damage evaluation repair method of pre-stressed concrete bridge members, and the National Cooperative Highway Research Program report number 280 the guidelines evaluation repair and pre-stressed concrete bridge members. Then goes in Appendix A the references. And then Appendix B would be your bridge inspection items, and then like Appendix C would be your suggested items, Army Triannual, 30 annual bridge inspection items. This is a reading of the Army Technical Manual 5600 Air Force AFJ PAM 32 11088 bridge inspection maintenance and repair. Proof of public release distribution is unlimited.